Another hand for the Voices of Light and Yvette Brandy. Fantastic. Well, hey, everybody. All right. So let's start with our focus statement, shall we? All right. Here we go with all the V's: vim, vigor, velocity, vivaciousness, and voluptuousness, and every other V imaginable. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Yes, awesome. I love that. So it is the end of June, and this year we have been focusing here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide. We've been focusing on the theme of spirituality in action. And here we've been focusing on the theme for the month of June as protect the vulnerable and empowerment. Pretty good stuff, right? Yeah. So I want to acknowledge a couple things before we roll into everything. I'd like to welcome back Kimmy. Yay. We got some wonderful news yesterday that Kimmy is 100% cancer-free. So, yes. The power of prayer, the power of love of this community, and the power of all the doctors and nurses, and the power of the universe working right where you are. So how absolutely wonderful and fantastic. So the other thing I want to share with you this morning is I got word from home office on Friday that our name here at the center is now officially Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. This is very exciting. Previously, we've been many things. Most recently, we've been the Riverside Community Center for Spiritual Living. And what has been happening in recent years is Trisha's been getting all kinds of phone calls from parents wanting to sign their children up for t-ball and swim lessons and everything because everybody just sees Riverside Community Center. And then if she's not receiving those phone calls and those inquiries, then she's receiving inquiries from students wanting to register in the speech and language department at Riverside Community College because when they see RCC, everybody here thinks Riverside Community College and then the SNL. Right, which is not Saturday Night Live. Darn. Well, at times, yeah. So for clarity and to really be able to advance who we are and our presence out into the larger community here in Riverside, it's still a long name, but we can't get away from the really long name, or we can't get away from that part of it, but we're now much more simply Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. So thank you to all of you. That's very exciting news for all of us as we're moving forward. So congratulations again. We are forming a marketing team, and so you will see new branding and marketing kind of coming out. We will still be using the Starburst, keeping in line with Centers for Spiritual Living, but you will also see the incorporation of the Rain Cross, our own Rain Cross back here, a Rain Cross teaching symbol, as well as the way we're writing Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. So it's very exciting news. My sister and her family have now moved to Riverside, so there they are. And I've asked her, because she's a web master, mistress, whatever you want to call it, and so she'll be helping us refresh and renew our new website as well. So that's something exciting too. For free. There's a personal cost to me, but it's free for all of you. So, there we are. There's your SNL comedy hour, right? So when we talk about emboldening people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love, and we also, here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, we teach tools for personal and global empowerment, for personal and global development. And we also believe in a world that works for everyone in all of creation. And so when you look at these two high ideas of Centers for Spiritual Living about teaching tools for empowered living for personal and global, on the global scale, the personal scale, and we know that we are trying to create a world that works for everyone in all of creation, then what that does is that lays the responsibility where? Right in our laps, doesn't it? That we are here to be the power and the presence of love on earth. We are here to be the power and the presence of love shining out into the world, and we are here to not only empower and enrich ourselves, but we are here to empower and enrich others and to lift the community, the larger community, and lift the world as a whole. So we have personal responsibility in this. We have a personal stake in this. That the work that we do here at Centers for Spiritual Living, the spiritual principles that we teach, is not solely for our own good. It's not solely for our individual good, but it is also for our collective good. Would you agree? Yes. So when we talk about taking it out beyond the walls, we're talking about not only taking spiritual principle, but we're talking about being the example out beyond these walls. Not just sitting, as I've said before, on our meditation cushions, though please sit on your meditation cushions. But not to just do the work solely in consciousness, though that is where it starts, but we also must be active and engaged and moving out into the world as a whole. Right. When Susan B. Anthony was asked about prayer, whether she prays, she said this, and I wanted to share this with you. I pray every single second of my life, not on my knees, but with my work. Work and worship are one with me. I cannot imagine a God of the universe made happy by my getting down on my knees and calling him great. All right? Yeah. So in the way we talk about things, we talk about treating and moving our feet, right? Praying and then taking action. I've shared with you many times that faith without works is not dead. Faith without works is not faith at all. Yes? And so when we're talking about heart-centered social engagement this morning, that's the topic for today. When we're talking about heart-centered social engagement, what does social engagement really mean? When we're talking about social engagement, and we distinguish it from social justice, because when we talk about social justice, sometimes people's hackles go, they get all like riled, social justice, oh my gosh, right? But when we talk about social engagement, there's a difference between social engagement and social justice, though they're both doing work in the world. Social justice, sometimes when we talk about social justice, people get upset, or they think that, with social justice ideas, then it has this great big centrifugal force, and then all of a sudden we're talking about separation, we're talking about otherness, we're adding to the fire, we're adding anger, we're adding animosity, and it's just loud noises, countering loud noises, and it's just adding to the loud noises, right? But when we talk about social engagement, notice the difference. It's about engaging with another. And when we engage with another from the heart-centered space, then what we're doing is we're engaging with each other from a place of compassion. We're engaging with each other from a place of love. We're engaging each other with a place of openness and recognizing our oneness. So a heart-centered engagement is coming from a completely different place than perhaps a social justice place. However, they can still both be working as a means to a similar end. Sometimes we hear, we're talking about social justice, we're talking about engagement, and, that's really political, and I really don't want to hear that, and I just don't want to be part of that. It's my job to challenge you to apply the spiritual principles that we learn here in every aspect of your life. And so what I strive to do is I strive to use real life examples, either from my own life or for what's going on in the world. And regardless of what example I use, you're going to hear it through your own ears. You hear the message through your own ears. So there are maybe 100 people in here right now. Each one of you is hearing this message through your own ears, and you're hearing it in a completely different way. You're hearing it through your own life experiences. You're hearing it through your own filters. You're hearing it through your own beliefs. You're hearing it through your own values. So my question, as we engage with social engagement, heart-centered social engagement or spiritually motivated social engagement, as we engage with this topic and as we engage with the ideas that are happening in the world and the things that are going on in today's society, I ask you this. Are you listening with your political ears, or are you listening with your spiritual ears? And I invite you to listen with your spiritual ears. So when we talk about heart-centered or spiritually motivated social engagement, we're talking about not coming from a place of standing against something, but actually standing for something. So what is it that you stand for rather than what is it that you stand against? It's easy to look out in society, it's easy to look out on Facebook and social media and see all kinds of stuff that we stand against. That we feel, ooh, that's wrong, that's bad, that's no good, right? It's easy to see these things. But instead of focusing there, what I ask you to do, or what I invite you to do, is what is it that you stand for? What is it that you're standing for? Go within and find that place, that spiritual truth, that spiritual principle, and invite that to come to the forefront. What is it that I'm standing for? If I'm standing for love, if I'm standing for a family, then my position is different than if I say I'm standing against separation at the border. I'm standing for the integrity and wholeness of families. And that is the energy that I bring to it, and that is the place that I bring, that is the place that I come from. Yes, there might be anger. But what that is what we call righteous anger or divine discontent. And we can use that to motivate. We can use that to speak out. We can use that to shine light. We can use that to make a difference. Because it's coming from a heart-centered place. It's coming from a spiritually principled place rather than just being mad. Rather than just like engaging in silliness on Facebook, right? But it's coming from a place of spiritual intent, of wanting to see things shift, and not adding fuel to the fire, not contributing to the problem, but actually coming forth and contributing to the solution, being part of the solution rather than the problem. Einstein said that a problem or a challenge cannot be solved by the same level of consciousness that created it. So if we're just fighting fire with fire, if you will, if we're just spewing vitriol back at vitriol being spewed, if we're just throwing hatred back at hatred being spewed, what's happening? All we're doing is creating more of the same. We're not shifting anything. Light drives out darkness. Love drives out hatred. That's where we need to focus, and those are the ideas that we need to be focusing on as we are encountering these different things that we see going on in society, whether they be globally or locally, internationally or within our own communities. And what I would argue is if there is only one of us, if there is only one life, there's only just this one power, this one presence, then whatever is going on at the border, whatever is going on in San Bernardino, whatever is going on right here in Riverside, is going on right within each one of us and right for each one of us. Because there is no separation. If we're talking about living in a world that works for everyone and all of creation, we are everyone and we are all of creation. So we need to be thinking and approaching from that place of engagement, of seeing the other as our brother, our sister, our sibling in this one life, of really truly recognizing that everyone is our neighbor and coming from that place. Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? That we're coming from there. So opportunities to step into greater engagement from a heart-centered space. We have tons of opportunities in this community and in Riverside as a whole to step into greater engagement. A good place to start is, what breaks your heart? What breaks your heart? What, when you see it, what, when you observe it, what, when you experience it, breaks your heart? And focus there. How can I make a difference there? How can I make a difference in this particular situation? And if you don't like the idea of breaking your heart, what's calling on your heart? What is it that is stirring you to move? And what is it that is stirring you to move beyond, just posting something on Facebook? There was a question posed by several ministers about the abandoned children, the unaccompanied minors at the border, and the living conditions that are happening in the camps where these children are being detained. And one of the ministers posted, "Great, but what are you doing about it? Great, you're putting it on Facebook, but what are you doing about it? What are we doing about it?" So if this is something that calls to you, there's opportunities to do something. And one of the ministers, well, where do I begin? How do I start? What do I do? They're not accepting, the agencies won't accept aid. The agencies won't distribute these things. What do I do? There's a story of a young boy walking along the seashore, and there are a bunch of starfish on the beach. A whole bunch of starfish on the beach, right? And he's bending over, and he picks one up, and he flings it back into the ocean. And he bends over, and he picks one up, and he flings it back in the ocean. And he bends over, and he picks one up, and he flings it back in the ocean. And a man comes along, and he says, "What are you doing? You'll never make a difference. There's too many starfish here. You'll never possibly make a difference." And the young boy goes, "Made a difference to that one. Made a difference to that one. Made a difference to that one." Right? Chinese proverb says, people who say it can't be done should get out of the way of people who are already doing it. So there is a young man, his name is Artemio. His name is Artemio. And he came across the border as an unaccompanied minor, fleeing Guatemala and what was going on in his home country. And he came across the border. And just weeks before he turned 18, before he was going to age out of the system, because he was being detained in one of these camps that you see on TV, in Homestead or Texas, in California. He was being detained in one of these camps. And just weeks before he was to be released, he was sent to detention in New York. And while there, he was given some sort of medication, and he was over-medicated. And he was released in a catatonic state. Because at 18, he was no longer part of the system, and so they released him and returned him to California in a catatonic state. When our immigration attorney partners, Hadley Baramovich and her staff first met with this young man, he refused water. He refused everything, even though the water was sealed, because he did not trust anyone. He's since gotten a little bit better, and he is a little bit more engaging and a little bit more engaged. However, he still needs help. There's a special program for unaccompanied minors called SIJ, S-I-J, Special Immigrant Juveniles. And he qualifies for this program. He qualifies to get a green card because of his unaccompanied status and because of what's happened and transpired. However, he needs a guardian. He needs a family who will step in, or a guardian, just one person, who will step in and be his guardian for 3 to 6 months in order for the paperwork and everything to be processed through the state for him to be able to get a green card and be able to stay in the country. So when people ask, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I think of the starfish. Right? We can't necessarily do something for everyone in Homestead and everyone in Texas and everyone at our California borders, but we can do something for Artemio. You can do something for Artemio. If you are interested in helping him, see me after service so that we can help this one young man, we can help this one starfish. There's other opportunities that we have here when we come together in community, because when we come together in community and we're working together, then we bring our heart spaces and we bring our joy and we bring our love and we bring our life and we expand it and we multiply it when we come together, when things touch us so deeply when we come together. Right now, one of the things that our clergy group has been working with, our local clergy group here in Riverside, I'm part of a clergy group that consists of different pastors and clergy from many of our more progressive congregations here in Riverside. Rabbi Singer from Temple Bethel is part of that, and the folks over at Calvary Presbyterian, All Saints, Episcopalian, several of our Lutheran churches. We're all working together to bring forth this idea called Laundry Love. And Laundry Love is another opportunity for us as a community to get involved where individually we're reaching out and touching lives and changing lives individually. And what this does is we gather on the last Wednesday or the last Thursday of every month at a laundromat, and we provide quarters, we provide soap, and we provide dryer sheets, and help folks that are living on the edge, living on the margins, to be able to do their laundry that month, at least once a month. So this is something that we as a community can engage in. But not just us, we're working together with all these other congregations to make a difference in people's lives. What happens at these Laundry Love events, we haven't started it yet in Riverside, but what happens at these Laundry Love events like in Huntington Beach and Pomona is they start with doing laundry and then they expand. Because what happens is young people are there doing laundry with their parents, but watching the dryer spin is only exciting for so long, right? And so what some folks have started doing is they've started story hour, they've started story time, where they read to the young children, or they do arts and crafts with the young children. And then other Laundry Loves, they've started providing food and pizza or hamburgers. And what happens is that there becomes and there builds an intentional sense of community. Rather than doing it as a handout, it's a walk alongside with. Because frequently, those living on the margins, those living on the edge, the difference, comes a choice at the end of the month where there's too much month and not enough money, right? And we have to make a decision of whether we're going to eat that day or that week, or we're going to have clean clothes. And we also know that when we go out into society, when we have clean clothes, we have a tendency to be a little bit more respected, yes? So this is another opportunity that we are working, and we can be working with with other congregations to have a larger and greater impact right here in Riverside. changing lives, meeting people one-on-one, engaging with them one-on-one. One-on-one. Because when we engage with people one-on-one, then it's really hard to say, oh, look at the homeless guy in Fairmount Park. Because it's like, oh, hey, John, good to see you. Suddenly it becomes more personal. Suddenly we become more engaged. Suddenly our hearts are open and expand, and we tend to care more. We tend to have more compassion when we know and we see faces. It was really beautiful, too. This past week, Pastor Julie and I, Julie Kelly from Hope Lutheran and I, were over at Stepping Stones, which is a transitional age youth program run by Riverside University Health System, and it was their second annual LGBTQ Pride Festival. And how wonderful it was. I had my free pastor hug shirt on, right? And all these young people came and gave me hugs and received hugs, and they were doing the same with Pastor Julie as well. Because what we recognize is that our LGBTQ family, of which you know that I am a part, so this is deeply personal for me and doing this work, our LGBTQ family frequently feels hurt or damaged by traditional religion. And so for us to be able to be there and to be a presence of love and to share with these young people that there is a difference and that there is somebody who cares makes a huge difference and a huge impact in their lives. See, it's small little things like this where we can engage one-on-one, individually, where we bring our spiritual ideals, we bring our spiritual principles, we bring our spiritual truth to bear in these situations where we can really make a difference. So don't be thinking that it has to be some grand gesture. It might be correcting somebody who is being arrogant and nasty and really displaying unskilled behavior at the Cheesecake Factory. Demanding their cheesecake yesterday, and then spewing vitriol, racist vitriol, at the people behind the counter and saying, no, that is not okay, and stopping it. That just happened last week here in Riverside. So each of us has the opportunity to turn within, find that space, find that place. What is it that is calling on your heart? Where are you called to make a difference? Where are you called to use your voice to speak truth to power? Where are you called to use your voice, use your spiritual training, use your spiritual practice, and use your spiritual principle to be the power and the presence of love? Where are you called individually? And where are we called collectively? There's two other opportunities I want to share with you this summer that are happening for our community. One of them is we have partnered with Bryant Elementary School. We have officially adopted Bryant Elementary School right up the hill here. That's a great thing, at our neighborhood school. And so now through August 5th, we are accepting school supplies. We're doing a school supply drive for our young people at Bryant Elementary. We are also accepting children's brand new clean underwear and socks for the closet that they have there. So there will be a table in Johnson Hall starting next week for you to be able to bring all of the school supplies to help support our young people at Bryant Elementary. Okay? The other thing that we are doing is we are helping our transitional age youth, our youth who are transitioning out of foster care through Olive Crest. We're partnering with Olive Crest, and we're doing a kitchen supply drive because they are opening 6 apartments for these young people who have transitioned out of foster care. They need an apartment, but they need everything you can possibly imagine for a kitchen, to set up a kitchen. they need these supplies for the kitchen. So think small appliances like toasters or toaster ovens and blenders, but think silverware and plates and glasses and cups and linens and cheese graters and pizza cutters and whatever else that, when you're working around your kitchen this week, and think of all the tools and utensils that you use, all of that is needed. So we'll have another table in Johnson Hall for that, where we'll be accepting all of those, and we're accepting all of that through August 25th. So there are ways to get involved. There are ways to participate. Those are much easier ways to participate, and then there's also ways to get involved in deeper and more one-on-one contact ways. So if any of that appeals to you, or if there's something else that appeals to you, I invite you to do that. But use your faith, step out in faith, live in love, live love into action. We say that love lives here, but it doesn't just live here. We have to be living it out into the world as well. With that, I say thank you, namaste, and blessed be. So I invite our practitioners to please stand and circle the sanctuary, surround the sanctuary. I also invite our core council members to also join them. All of these beloveds are in prayer for you on a daily basis, in prayer for this community on a daily basis. If you have a specific prayer request, there is an envelope in the back of your pew there. You can drop it in the box just outside the doors there. There's a prayer box there, and you can drop those individual prayer requests, and those prayers will be held all week. They'll be lifted high in love all week long. Just because it's an envelope, that particular envelope, you don't have to put any money in that because prayer is always free. However, if you do want a professional practitioner session, then I invite you to contact one of our professional practitioners and schedule a session with them as well. All right, so let's just come together in consciousness. Right here and right now, I recognize that there's one power, one presence, one life, one infinite eternal being that is all, through all, and as all. It is the wholeness, the fullness, the allness, and the isness that is the one. And I recognize that it is unfolding perfectly in divine order and harmony, always and in all ways. For truly it is love made manifest. It is love expressing itself in, through, and as all of creation. Therefore I recognize that all of creation is the divine body of this one life, this one love, this one power, this one presence. That the entire universe is made of it. The entire universe is it itself. Therefore, I recognize that I am one with it. The who of who I am is the divine made manifest. I am the emanation and impartation of this one life, this one love. Therefore, I am the power and the presence of love working in and as this one throughout the world. There is a call upon my life to live in unity with my brothers and my sisters, my siblings. That this is the who of who I am, that I recognize that I am one with all of it and all of them. That truly we are all one. And so I speak my word here and now for this beloved community, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, recognizing that each one of us who makes up this community, who is a member of a community, who is a friend of our community, who has walked through the doors for the first time, that each one of us is the power and presence of love, that right where we are, God is. The divine is. And there's a call upon each of us to move forth from these doors on a daily basis in every interaction and to see the divine in one another. To call each other higher in consciousness by simply being the presence of consciousness. By simply elevating our own consciousness and saying yes to that which is ours to do. To using our voices to speak truth to power. To using our hands to make a difference in the world. To use our feet and our bodies and our minds as vehicles and vessels for the divine to make itself known in greater and more compassionate ways. I give thanks for each and every one. I give thanks for the divine unfoldment of our community as we continue to do great work in the world. I give thanks for the life and the spirit of Artemio. I give thanks for the life and the spirit of our transitional aged youth, of our LGBTQ community. of our children, of everyone, recognizing that we are one. I simply let it be so, releasing this word into the law, and so it is.